We can't stop thinking because we need constant noise to mask that background noise, that background question that we didn't answer, that we didn't look at. When we are forced by life to face death, some crack. Some people, they just crack, and from the fear, the personality collapses to a degree and nothing else is left. And many people actually, facing death, they discover a very profound meaning to life. For some, when they face death life forces them to face death, but inwardly they are completely not to face it, then they create such a resistance that their fake personality becomes really ill. And very often people have this post-trauma effect from not being able to face death in that way. Yet for others, the encounter with death, like was for Dostoevsky, like was for many others, it allows, when we are ready, okay, there is a scary situation, a disease, a war, some kind of accident, and we come out of it alive, but we had the experience of being close to death. A friend of mine was bitten by a snake. It took him a while to get to the hospital, and they told him, no, you'll be fine. But in between, you face death. Something fundamental happens when we let this experience in. When we let this very obvious fact that we are going to die, when we let it in, the entire inner programming, all the algorithms that we were based on, they start to shift, and a very healthy process of transformation will occur. Now, if it was your last day today, you knew for sure it's your last day, what would you do? Who would you call? Yeah, there was these people in the Twin Towers when they were collapsing. And so many of them, they called to say, I'm sorry to people. You know, that's it. I have 5 minutes, I have 10 minutes, I still have my cell phone. You call to say, I'm sorry. You call to say, I love you. You don't call to say, hey, what about that $5,000? I'll hunt you from the grave if you don't give it back to my family. Yeah? You don't call to say that. The perspective of what has meaning, what doesn't have meaning, shifts very much when we are close to death. It's like, you can change the color settings in a movie. That suddenly all the greens become blue and all the blue become green and so forth. When we are close to death and we really integrate and embrace and say, yes, this is the reasonable thing, I'm going to die, obviously. When we are close to death, the meaningful things in life stand out as meaningful and the meaningless stand out as meaningless. When we push death away, there is a shift. Life becomes black and white, if you will. What is meaningful becomes meaningless, and what is meaningless appears meaningful. In front of death, if you have $500,000 or $600,000, doesn't matter. Yeah, Alexander the Great, when he died, he said, in my funeral, have the coffin open so people can see my hands, that the king of the world, who owns everything, comes out of this world empty-handed. To make it very clear. And yet, when death is far, those extra few $1,000s and extra few meters that they can buy in the house appear very meaningful. Yet, being forgiven for the mistakes we made, not now. I have business. Loving the people that we love. Personally, I had a few experiences being close to death, and it gives such a flip of perception. It's not what you think. when you are close to death, is not how you planned, if you ever planned to be, and I did, planned to be close to death. It's something very different. You suddenly discover, for example, I discovered how much I love those few people that are very close to me, and how much I would miss them. And that this entire world, fine, I'm ready to leave. But these few people I love so much, it would be very difficult to leave them. And I remember calling my mother sometimes after this experience and just literally sobbing on the phone with love. And she was very touched, she didn't know what's going on. But it was very important for me to express to her how much I love her. Now, this dissolving of the fake personality is something that, or let's say the process of transformation that death brings, is something that's also quite researched by now. And from the University of Virginia, which is one of the best universities when it comes to researching the spiritual sides of death, both the research of incarnation, of Erickson, and the research of near-death experience in that same university by Raymond Moody. People with near-death experience, as you probably know, they die, their heart dies, the brain dies, and then they get the zzz or something, and they return. Already in Tibet, there is the Delok tradition, and they gathered all the testimonies of people who were dead and came back, who were clinically dead and came back. And by now there are a huge amount of studies. I mean, there's so many heart attacks and so many people come back. And so from the perspective of profession and character, people, when they have a near-death experience, a huge number of them moves to do something more meaningful in life. And they feel happier, lighter, more soulful, more interested in people, less interested in material things, because something very, very fundamentally changed in them. Death revealed that which has meaning. Another story from the Holocaust, documented by the great author and philosopher and psychologist Viktor Frankl, who was there in Auschwitz. And he said that a group of people discovered that they will be sent to die the next morning. I don't know how they discovered, but they knew. And that group of people knew, okay, that's it. We have 12 hours to live. What do we do? Huh? What would you do in a concentration camp? They didn't go and revenge. They didn't go and get drunk. They didn't start beating each other up. They broke into the library. They managed to do that. And they each took a book, their favorite book from the library, and read it until the morning. So that their last experience of life will be something elevated, will be something that reminds them of their heart, of particular elevated emotions. Inside all that state, with the starvation, with the difficulties, with the tortures, with all that, they took their heart through the book somewhere beautiful. This is the essence of really facing and assuming death. Now, we don't have to have a near-death experience in order to have such an experience, in order to have a profound transformation by embracing death. What we can do is choose to really look at death. Choose to acknowledge reasonably, obviously, we are going to die. Without a doubt. And just let that settle. The idea is, psychologically, we choose, as Blandine said, instead of looking down, we choose to look, where is that door? Where is that? Okay, that's the door. Gaze at the door. How does it feel? And if you take that courageously, a process of very profound transformation will begin to occur, in which that constant tyrannical noise of the false personality that puts so much energy, ignore death, ignore death, ignore death. How will we ignore this? Fireworks. That person told me like that. I will tell him like this. This happened. Promotion. Breakup. Telenovela. Internet. Yeah, did you ever wonder why you cannot stop your mind? Why you can finish taking a shower, but you can't stop thinking? You can finish chewing something. When you finish chewing something, your mouth doesn't continue chewing. It's finished. But when you chew on a subject, you don't decide and you already find yourself chewing on another subject. We can't stop thinking because we need constant noise to mask that background noise, that background question that we didn't answer, that we didn't look at, that door, death. Now, when we choose to do that, and when you just say, yeah, I'm just going to look at it because it's real, because it's 100% real, is the only event in my future which is certain. That's the only certain event in my future, is death. So let me base my life on that certain event. When we start to do that, of course, there's a process, and we'll speak about it in a moment. There's a lot of shaking going on because there's a very profound transformation and shift of values, shift of emotions, shift of way of thinking. But after a big storm, an inner revolution, where we take down the tyrant, there is silence. There is peace. If you make peace with death, you make peace with life. If you are ready to die today, which you eventually, if you are a tantric, every day you are ready to die. If you are ready to die today, you are quiet inside and ready to live from silence, from simplicity, in a natural way. When we are not ready to die, when we haven't completed what we need to do in our lives because we ignore death, we are constantly agitated.
Hey guys, if you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content on spirituality, Tantra and more.
And if you want to sign up for our online classes or for our retreats, you can see our website on the description below.